Well, hello. It's not Wednesday, it's not Thursday, it's Friday, so I'm a bit late for Woolly Hats Wednesday Wiz, but here we are. I've been quite busy this week. I've been out and about doing lots of walking and enjoying the sunshine, but of course now the sun has gone and a little rest at the moment, hence me wearing my lovely Fair Isle sweater that I made earlier this year with lots of bits and bobs. So what have I been up to? Well, I have been doing some knitting, but nothing new, so I thought I'd talk to you about today about where we went this week that inspired me on some knitting project, or hope to inspire me on some knitting projects. We went to the Yorkshire Dales, and in the Yorkshire Dales there was a big knitting industry, partly because they had lots of sheep there, but it was a way of people making money to supplement the farming, and indeed the knitters in Dent were referred to as the terrible knitters of Dent, not meaning that they were terrible in our sense of the word, but they were very productive. They made loads and loads of stuff, and they made stockings and they made hats and vests, things like that, and a lot of it was sent abroad to the Napoleonic Wars to keep the soldiers nice and warm and dry. Anyway, there's a very interesting book called The Old Hand Knitters of the Dales, which if you can get hold of it, I think it's a really interesting read, and it talks about the industry in the Yorkshire Dales and how it developed and then how it died. And it was originally written by Mary Hartley and Joan Ingleby, and it was done in I think it was the 60s. So in the 60s, there were still a few people around who remembered the knitting industry from the turn of the century and into the 20th century. So it's a really interesting read, but it has been updated by Penelope Lister Hemingway, who I believe is American. Mary Hartley and Joan Ingleby are English. And it's got lots of fascinating facts, and if you like social history as well, it's really interesting. So it talks about the different tools that they used. But what I find interesting is that that is the kind of thing that they would knit, and there's actually that sock glove is in a museum somewhere, and it was knitted by a Dales person, and it's showing the traditional pattern that you get in the Dales, and you can see it's two colours, but it's using the Fair Isle or stranded knitting technique that you have in Scotland and Shetland and Fair Isle. So there is a pattern at the back, so I thought I might do that there. I might give it a whirl sometime, but we'll see. Lots of charts and things like that. Oh, look at that for a chart. Oh, I think you'd have to enlarge that, otherwise it'd make your eye go a bit funny. So there I was in the Dales, reminding myself of the knitting industry there and the hard work of the ladies, but also the men and the children. Lots of knitting going on. I didn't do so much knitting because I was busy sitting in the sun, and later in the evening I was avoiding the midges, but we had a jolly good time. The other thing I thought I'd show you is, talking of books, is that my good friend Jean Fisher, sadly no longer with us, gave me some of her knitting books, and she gave me this. So this is the history of knitting, and it's written by what they used to refer to as the knitting bishop, Richard Rutt, the Bishop of Leicester. And it, as you can see, he's sporting a very nice cardigan there. It looks a bit like a Kay Facet type pattern. And again, it's quite an old book now. I think it was, when was it, 87? Gosh, 87 old, doesn't seem right, but it is. And it talks about all the knitting from 1500 and the Henry VIII Commonwealth right through to nearly the present day. And looks at different styles, not just British knitting, but other styles as well. So if you can get a hold of that, that's rather good. And he does have a rather marvellous cardigan on. However, I'm not sure whether the knitting bishop is with us still, but he does look jolly damn fine in his thing. So today, it was I went off to Llanidloes, which is in Mid Wales. It's about half an hour from Welshpool, which is where I am at the moment. And I went to Minerva, which is a craft centre. They specialise in doing sort of mainly quilting stuff, but in June they have a thing called the Wool and Willow Festival, and they have lots of local artists who come and exhibit their work, so you can buy things. So I went along, and I have been before, and I knew she was going to be there, is a lady called Sasha Cargan, and she is a knitting designer. She's also done crochet, and she's done lots of work for Rowan, but also she does things for magazines. So you might have seen her patterns in the Knitter, and also things like some of the women's magazines as well. So she was there, so I had a jolly interesting chat, and I talked to her a lot about Intarsia. So this that I'm wearing here is a Fair Isle technique, so using two strands two different colours, and you just have two colours a whole length. For Intarsia, you would have little pops of colour. So there's an example there. So the little sort of rosebuds and things. So you wouldn't carry the yarn all the way across. You would have little, what they call, little balls or bobbins of wool, which we'd use. And in the past, I've not been that. It's sort of my least favourite knitting technique. However, having had a chat with Sasha this morning, and she gave me some pointers on how to perhaps enjoy it a bit more, and probably have fewer issues with stray balls and things like that. So guess what? I bought a book from her. So this is Knitwear. So this is all her designs of the last few years that she's done for different magazines and things. There is one in there for Vogue, but I think I don't have a Vogue type body. But there was one nice one. I quite like that one. So that's called Pebble. As you can probably see, it looks a bit pebbly. So who knows? That might be added to the long list of possible projects. So I keep going in and out of sugar. The sun's come out. Hurrah, hurrah. So that's all for me this week. Rabbiting on about books and things, but they can be quite interesting. I don't know whether you've got any favourite knitting books or any pattern books that you particularly like and go back to repeatedly, but it's always interesting delving into what other people do. Sometimes you pick up things you do like, and sometimes you think, no, I can't be bothered with that. That looks far too complicated. But each to their own, as I say. Now then, I will be with you hopefully next week on a Wednesday, and I will be telling you more about what I'm up to in my knitting and crochet. Bye for now.